Welcome on in to the Jersey Swap, episode 26 of season 10. I am Jason Ashcraft, and yes, this is different tonight. Jeff Tebbets is on vacation. He is off for the evening, and months ago, when we got the schedule, they said who should fill in for Jeff, and they picked me because, as you can see behind me with the RSL themed Utah license plate, I think I've got a couple of scarves back there mixed with FC Cincinnati scarves. As you all know, I lived out in Salt Lake for 8 years. 5 of those years, I was an RSL season ticket holder, and they said, Jason, do you want to do this? And I said, of course I want to do this. But before we get started, we want to give a big thanks to our sponsor, Beyond Exercise. Beyond Exercise is a local physical therapy and fitness business that helps people stay active and injury free. In fact, they've helped some of our local MLS Next Pro, and FCC Academy players with their health and performance needs. Check out their suite of services at gobeyondexercise.com. And we'll have another ad read later. But before we get to that, we've got some soccer to talk about. And here to talk about it is Scott Omer from the Designated Pundits podcast. Hey, Scott, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me. This is a huge pleasure.
Oh, no worries whatsoever. You and I were chit chatting before we went on the air because we've been texting back and forth. And I think some of the FC Cincinnati fans know that I have a side hustle where I do stats for colleges, and that has been a side hustle for years. And you were the guy that used to pay me.
Yeah, I was. So in my in my life before podcasting, I worked for the local university in Salt Lake, the University of Utah. I worked in the
Mhm.
athletics department, and one of the sports that I was a game facility administrator for was men's basketball, which is one of the sports that you did stats with. I happened as I was searching for your link to this recording, I happened to pull up some old emails that had your name in them.
That's great. FC Cincinnati heading out to Salt Lake this weekend. And I heard on the postgame show that this is the second longest trip of the year. I think the longest will be the trip out to Portland. Um, FC Cincinnati coming off of a big win against Inter Miami 3-0 last night, Wednesday night at TQL Stadium. But the MLS is a short roll around season. Sometimes you have quick turnarounds, and this week is no exception. And so we're heading out to Salt Lake City to play at America First Field. That's been a thing I've had to learn, is it's no longer Rio Tinto, correct? It's America First.
That's right. We've traded the big international mining conglomerate for the local credit union. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, American First Field is probably one of the worst stadium names in the league, but what are you
What are
going
you
to do?
gonna do? The
It'll
check cleared.
the
That's what.
check cleared. Give it a few years, it'll change.
So before we get into kind of talking about RSL, the team and the guys on the pitch, I forgot to add this to the rundown, but you all had a new ownership turnover this year, isn't that right?
We did it a bit surprising, really, considering the old ownership hadn't been in that long. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, David Blitzer sold a stake, a majority stake actually, to a local ownership group. It's the Miller family. You, of course, would know that,
Yeah.
but outside of Utah, you wouldn't know that. For context, they used to own the Utah Jazz. That
Mm-hmm.
family for a very, very long time. They're very involved in the community. In a lot of ways, I think this is a positive move for RSL as a team that exists inside of Salt Lake because the owners are just more present here in this city as opposed to Blitzer, who has his fingers in many different pots, many different pies across the world.
Yeah. With that change in ownership, though, have you seen any changes to kind of the way the organizations run, or do you kind of feel like it's a situation where they're just kind of stand pat and maybe wait to the off season?
The change of ownership came at a strange time. It came right around the beginning of the season. I think it did affect the winter transfer window. The team wasn't as willing to go out and spend big
Mm-hmm.
in that winter transfer window because they knew this was coming. Blitzer is still a part of that, so that kind of surprised me, but it is what it is. Uh, Otherwise, things have really continued on very, I don't know, seamlessly is kind of the word I want to use here. You haven't seen a lot of upheavals. There's not big changes in the front office and things like that. A lot of stuff was working well under Blitzer and the former minority owner, Ryan Smith, who's now out. The front office worked kind of well. They hit on some transfers, they missed on others. All those people are still there. I I think there will be some fan experience things that we'll start to see changing, updating. The Millers will want to make their mark, but this current transfer window is kind of their first opportunity to really go out and do stuff. So it's kind of a wait and see moment.
Speaking of transfer, what the off season, the winter transfer window, you did ship out Chicho Arango in the off season, which was kind of to me as I try to follow RSL as much as possible. Being here in the Eastern time zone, it's sometimes difficult, but that seemed like a big move in the off season that was not expected.
It was a huge move and massively unexpected. Most fans, did not see that coming. There were some kind of extenuating internal circumstances that made that need to happen. Um, but it did catch, I think, a lot of the fan base by surprise. It maybe happened later than the front office would have liked. I think that really played into them not really being ready to go into the market for a DP striker. They were really, at a disadvantage. Everybody knew they were going to need a DP striker. They were never going to get somebody at a decent price. So that happened. You definitely see the knock on effect of that into this season, though, where RSL's offense has not been nearly as prolific as they used to be. And I know we'll look at, the record for this year. That's a big shock to fans who last year were used to watching their team be at the top of the table or near the top of the table all year long.
Yeah, exactly. This year though, RSL kind of finds itself not at the top of the table. um, Last I checked, it was about eighth place, I think, in the Western Conference. You are coming off of a win against Portland, who themselves are not having the best season ever either. Kind of what has been the vibes around Utah this year?
Disappointed has
Mm-hmm.
been the vibe. Like I mentioned, it was a surprise to lose Chicho. There was investment. There were players that came in, but you knew nobody of his caliber came in. But we thought, hey, the team's got good bones. They should still be fairly competitive. The big thing was that like this team really just until this recent 5 game unbeaten streak, the team just really struggled. They were very up and down, and their up was not that up. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So the vibe has just been really, really disappointed from the fan base. They know this team is capable of more. They know there's good players in the group, and it's just frustration that the investment or the tactical planning or whatever is not getting more out of it.
Yeah. Pablo Mastroeni has been there for a while now. He's had quite a bit of success, but also some rough years as well. Kind of what is the vibe in the fan base around the coaching staff? Because it seems to be half of one, half of the other sometimes when I'm just looking at what people are saying online.
Yeah, well, and that's very accurate. The fan base is a little bit mixed on Pablo. I think most people really like him as a person. He's
Mm-hmm.
a very genuine, very transparent guy. If you ask him a question, he will give you his thoughts. Um, it's kind of a new thing. We've had plenty of coaches who were much more guarded. Uh, he's very very open. So the fan base really likes him personally. Tactically, Pablo's still a young head coach. If you
Yeah,
really consider, right, he's got all this experience as a player and stuff like that, very storied career. But as a head coach, he doesn't have that much time as compared to some of the other guys around the league. And so he makes sometimes young head coach kind of mistakes. And the fan base, I think, has really struggled sometimes to deal with that. He came into the job when the current head coach Freddie Juarez left to go be an assistant coach in Seattle,
Yeah.
like right before the playoffs. It was like mid-season thing. It was um, very kind of chaotic for a minute,
Yeah.
and Pablo took over the job, and he just brought in his motivational style, and the team did really well, and he was hired off of the back of that. But there was always this like understanding, at least for me, and it was something I kind of tried to put out into the world, but you're going to ride the roller coaster with Pablo as he learns his trade. And we've seen that a little bit. He's learning his trade. He had to have an entirely new, assistant coaching staff hired kind of underneath him. The front office did that to him, not at his request, but they made an executive decision.
Mm.
Um, Last year was the first year with a new assistant coaching staff, which was something that actually really helped the team a lot. So there's some things that he is learning as it goes along, and I think the fan base is becoming more okay with that because he is actually showing that he's learning these things, he's improving, the team
Hmm.
is adapting. We're seeing him actually work through problems, and you know, he I think he's a good guy. He works well with the culture here. He works well with the team. He works well with I think the way that ownership is going to be. We're never going to be L.A. or Miami who bring in Miami's bringing in what Rodrigo de Paul right now. Like
Yeah.
we're never going to do that.
Somehow
And
they're making that work.
I know. Can you? I can't even fathom what that must be like. But Pablo doesn't need that. Pablo Mastroeni doesn't need that, and so I think he's a good fit for this organization, and I'm quite happy to have him around.
Cool. Well, we're going to take a quick break to thank our other sponsor, Apollo Home. It's going to be hot in Salt Lake this weekend. It is hot here in Cincinnati, and there's chances are your air conditioning is already up and running at full match strength and added extra time, especially this summer. Keep it performing its best with a $29 AC tune-up from Apollo Home. Give them a call, send them a text, or schedule online at apollohome.com. Love to thank them for all their sponsorship over the years here with Cincinnati Soccer Talk. The One of the things that I remember, so I moved out to Salt Lake in 2013, and that was a great year to be introduced to Real Salt Lake because that was the last year that RSL made it to the MLS Cup, and my wife and I were there at the Western Conference Final against LA Galaxy. And one of the things I remember about that ownership group and about that team and front office was the team is the star. Do you think that that's still kind of the attitude? Because much like RSL, we're not a very big market here in Cincinnati. We're probably not going to get the DePauls or the Messies or something like that. Maybe willing to splash more cash, but do you think that's kind of been the attitude of the ownership group, even though it changed hands like two or three times since then?
Yes, I'm going to say that a little bit cautiously. Yes, but I think like you're talking about Cincinnati, not a big market. You're not going to get to Paul, but um, but you're willing to get like Evander in there, right?
Hmm.
He's a big player in this league. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not that you can't have big players in this league. Diego Luna is a big player in this league, and RSL
Oh
is
yeah.
happy to tout his stardom, as much as they can. They'll take all of that publicity. But there is never a moment, and you see this very much through the coaching staff. There's never a moment when Diego Luna is able to like be like, I'm a star, I don't have to play defense, or I'm a star, I run the team, or whatever. Like you still see this attitude from the coaching staff that they expect all of the players to contribute all of
Hmm.
the time to all of the phases of the game for the team and to work for each other. And um, so yeah, when you ask, is team the star in Salt Lake, it is.
Yeah.
That's
You
a
meant
and that's sorry, that's just like a big part of also Pablo Mastroeni's culture. I think back
Yeah.
to that other point, that's why he fits so well here.
Yeah. You mentioned Diego Luna. He has sort of been he has been the rising star, not just of RSL for these past two or three seasons, but this summer he really showed what he could do with the U.S. men's national team, and now he's getting some interest abroad. Like, obviously, great for him, but
Mhm.
he's also your leading goal scorer. Like how are RSL fans kind of taking all of this, Diego Luna love fest that's going around the country?
Totally mixed emotions, right? Everybody's
Hmm.
feeling all of it all at once. On one hand, we are stoked to have a guy like that in the organization because he's such a good guy as well, right?
Yeah.
His story is incredible, and he's just a wonderful person. But at the same time, like, we're happy for that. We want him to go and be successful and be everything that he can be. And at the same time, we are terrified of that day. You just live in dread. That this thing that you're actually working towards might actually happen one day. So everybody's a little worried about that. But I think it's like the Andres Gomez transfer last year, right? That happened midseason. That's a big
Mhm.
reason too that RSL's kind of dropped off. But Andres Gomez was having a breakout season. He was kind of in all-star form in a lot of ways. He was one of the best young players in the league. Got his move to France, and at some point you have to remind yourself that in this league, that is one of the goals, that you
Mhm.
need players to come through, young players. They come to your organization, they succeed in your organization, and they move on up, that international food chain. And uh, that is a thing that opens doors to more young talent,
Yeah.
right? Diego Luna comes, he succeeds here under Pablo Mastroeni, he leaves. Other young players, right? Upcoming talents are watching that. They see him develop. They see what type of person he becomes. They see the kind of success that he can have. They see the way that he works with the coaching staff. They see the way the fan base loves him. Right now, Salt Lake, who can't attract Messi, but we can attract that guy.
Yeah.
Right? Those guys might maybe want to come to Salt Lake. They want to have that experience. They know that Salt Lake won't stand in the way. That Salt Lake will help them get to wherever they need to get to.
Yeah. Speaking of Luna, he's got 8 goals on the year. What about it? Like, what about his game is leading to his success? Do you think? I mean, he's come in. He's a young player, but he's clearly like the talisman for RSL this year. I mean, what about his game do you think is the key to that?
Yeah, I think it's the thing that you see a little bit when he plays with the men's national team. It's a very unique skill set style where he wants the ball all the time. If the space is big enough for him to stand in it, it's big enough for him to receive the ball.
Hmm.
He wants to combine. He wants to get other players involved. He has a very naturally unselfish style, but then when he's in front of goal, he's quite happy to shoot and take those chances. So there is just all those kind of things. He's really intelligent. You see him always, scanning the field, head checking, getting his hips turned so that he can, right, so that he can see and, read the game. And then I think the other part of that though is the coaching staff has recognized that they've got a
Yeah.
special player and a special talent, and they have built systems to benefit him, to put him in advantageous situations. They've asked him to do certain things for the team, and he has accepted that wholeheartedly. And in response to that, the system really works for him.
Mhm. Talk a little bit about that system. I mean, from what I've seen, it looks like the 4-2-3-1 formation. It kind of is the go-to for RSL this season. And while Luna is the top scorer, you got Diogo Gonzalez with 3 goals, Johnny Russell with a couple of goals as well. Katranis, I think is his name, Alexandros
Mhm,
Katranis, with the most
mhm.
assists on the team. What about like what can FCC fans kind of expect to see from RSL if they're clicking on Saturday night?
Well, that 4-2-3-1 formation, you're going to see RSL line up in that, and then you will really not see that formation again for the rest of the game. That's the thing. It's a
That's
really
the picture they give, when they get ready to roll out. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And so the thing that you're going to see is actually a really heavily modified form version of that. So Alex Catranis that you mentioned there with the assists, he plays that left back position, and he's going to play way higher than you think he is.
Hmm.
So he runs that left side, and what they've done is um, they've taken Diego Luna, who last year played on the left wing. This year he's played a little bit on the left wing, a little bit in the middle. Kind of depends on the players that are in at any given moment. But they play him inside, that left wing inside, as another 10. So they play two tens.
Mm.
They play two defensive mids and two tens, and then that right, like attacking winger, almost becomes like a second forward. Sometimes it's a very heavily modified shape in possession, and so that left wing back runs the whole left side. The defense becomes kind of like a back three sometimes. Uh, the two the two holding mids are really tasked with like ball retention, possession, winning the ball back, a lot of defensive responsibilities, a lot of
Mhm.
possession responsibilities, not so many like goal scoring responsibilities. You won't see them necessarily threatening goals so often. So you're going to see that kind of interplay. Um, it's designed to create, number mismatches in front of the defense. It's designed to put players in unexpected positions. That's one of the
Mhm.
reasons that Diego Luna has been able to get some of the success is he's popping up in places that the defense think he shouldn't be there. They're like, "Hey, you're the left wing. Why are you popping up on the right side? Like, how did you get here?" That's the goal he scored for the national team in the semifinal, I think. But that's the sort of shift that you get.
Yeah. It's interesting you say how much you rely on that left side. In Cincinnati, we have the same kind of situation going on with Luca Orishano, who
Yeah,
is kind of in a similar situation, a natural winger who's been asked to play left wing back. And if you look at the heat map, I don't know if you follow MLS Analytics on Blue Sky, but they're my favorite Blue Sky account. The heat map for FC Cincinnati, it's just all up and down that side of the pitch. And poor DeAndre Yedlin, he'll get some touches here or there, but it's really heavily skewed to the left side there. Besides some of the players we might have mentioned, who is a player that FC Cincinnati fans should keep an eye on Saturday night?
a couple of players to keep an eye on. If anything, actually, just because they're exciting players that you should know. First off, I want to highlight a young player, Xavier Gozo. He's like
Mhm.
18 years old. He's been involved in some U.S. youth setups. He's going to play in one of the attacking roles on the team. He's young, he's raw. You're going to see a lot of that. Some stuff that you're like, wow, that's incredible for an 18-year-old, and some stuff where like, yep, I believe you're 18. What he's really got though is an unbelievable engine. This dude, he will run hard for 90 minutes. And it'll be the 89th minute and the play will be beyond him kind of thing. And you'll think, yeah, any other forward would pull up and just let it go and trot back to position or whatever. And he'll go press. He'll go press and he'll catch players out. And it's an exciting thing to watch. He definitely has a bright future. So you should watch for him. The other player I think I really want to highlight is the RSL goalie. That's
Mhm.
Hoffa Cabral. He has a remarkable story, and a personal career that is crazy. He's played in Napoli and for Brazil. Just a big time player, and
Mhm.
he makes big time saves week after week for this team.
That's
So
awesome. The legacy of goalkeeping at RSL is pretty deep. Um,
it's wild. It started badly, and it got better. But yeah, years and years of Nick Raimondo, who any fan of the league should know his name.
mhm.
He's got an incredible career. And then, that's so tough to replace him when he finally hung up the gloves.
Yeah. Yeah, there was that joke that they should name the goalkeeper of the year after Nick Raimondo because he never won it, even though he should have.
He should
The
have won
first
it
2 years
so
of
many times.
him being just so dominant. Kind of take us through, the game here on Wednesday. You got a 1-0 win in Portland. I admittedly I was beat from the FC Cincinnati match, and it was 10:30 our time, so I wasn't going to stay up for it. I
I
did watch some of the highlights, but
I
that seems
wouldn't have
a little
watched it in
chippy
your
win.
position.
What's that?
I wouldn't have watched it in your position. Though when Portland came to Salt Lake, it was a 0-0 game. It was not that exciting. I didn't have super high expectations for this.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of walk us through that win though. Like what was the key on Wednesday night for RSL?
The key on Wednesday night is that RSL managed to hold FC or Portland or what the Timbers, uh, whatever they're called. They managed to hold Portland to one shot on target.
Yeah.
And a big part of that, and a big part of RSL's recent form, is actually a tactical change that they've made. It's pretty subtle, but last season, one of the keys to success was a guy named Matt Crooks who very naturally dropped back into a deeper defensive role out of the number 10 position. Uh, Once he left, RSL didn't have a player that naturally would do that. It took about half a season to sort of get that functioning again. But if you watch the game back again last night, you'll see that in every transition, RSL gets one of the front four, um, and it's usually Diogo Gonçalves back next to that double pivot of center midfielders. So
Mhm.
they defend in kind of a 4-3. Now you have to allow kind of a moment in transition for the left winger to get back into his defensive role. And that's been a problem.
Yeah.
So what's happened is RSL frequently has been getting outnumbered, caught out of position, and there's all this kind of open space that teams have been able to exploit. For the last few games, and it was really on display against the Timbers, RSL was able to get the numbers back and just lock things down defensively. And because they were able to do that, then the midfielders are able to be strong. They're able to contest balls. They're able to force errors. And it was forcing an error in the midfield and then just being opportunistic. And Diogo Gonçalves drifting off of that left wing into a central area where he's not expected, right? He creates an overload on the right side and he's able to hammer it home. And so that's kind of your key is being able to be more defensively solid, doing that defensive work, and then letting those offensive patterns play out.
Great. Um, the transfer window opens up, I think, next week. I think it's the 24th is when it opens up. There's a few rumors swirling here in Cincinnati about some players, but nothing like super exciting. What's going on out in Utah? Is there anybody that is kind of rumored to, other than Luna possibly leaving? Is there anybody rumored to be coming in or exiting?
Well, we did actually have a real exit happen. Nelson Palacio was one of our U22 DPs. RSL
Hmm.
has the 4-2 model, so four
Yeah,
young
yeah.
DPs, two full DPs. Nelson Palacio, one of the defensive midfield depth, a pretty good player in his own right, but he went on loan to Zurich. And the way he went on loan is really the story of the transfer window. Nobody knew it was going to happen. And then there was an announcement from Zurich one day, and all of the fans in Salt Lake were like, is that real? Did that just happen? Like, what? So there was no lead up to that. The club was very quiet. There were no rumors. Nothing was buzzing on, on social media or anything anywhere. Even the people close to the club, the fans who kind of pick up on rumors here and there, nobody knew anything. That just it happened out of the blue, and that's really the story of the transfer window. We've had very few rumors. There is one South American journalist, I believe he's based in Colombia. He's pretty reliable, who says that RSL is going in for a loan on a guy named Brian Leon. He plays for Medellin in Colombia. He's an attacker, plays left wing and striker. So it seems like we've seen that rumor a couple of times now, but that's about
Hmm.
it. So I think that one probably is going to happen sooner rather than later. He's not super exciting. His goal scoring record is actually really poor, so that's a bit of a bummer. But the front office said, "Hey, expect us to bring in 4 players." They cleared out a U22 DP spot. Brian Leon doesn't fit that. I don't think. I think he's older than that. So yeah, I think the front office is working on some stuff, but they're being really tight about it,
Yeah.
really buttoned up.
Yeah, it's kind of the same situation here. We've had some rumors swirling around some players, but nothing like super crazy. Um, so before we get into our picks and like predictions for the match on Saturday, I do have to ask you because I'm going to the match. obviously, I'm very familiar with Salt Lake and the whole area. But we do have like a surprisingly large contingent of FC Cincinnati fans that are either going or actually live out there that I've kind of talked to online. What is Scott's pregame ritual? Like, where are you going before the match? What are you doing before the match? You know, good bite to eat, good drink to have. Like what's going on with you before you head out to the riot?
Oh man. So I like to go out. I usually go with my family. We've got season tickets together, and we just go wherever. There's a number of good restaurants. Like, make no mistake about it. One that I would recommend, if you like Asian fare, is Makan Makan. It's not too far from the stadium, and it's a lot. It's like kind of an Asian street food
Oh,
vibe.
okay.
Um, Kind of picks from a couple of different countries, and they're excellent. So I'd recommend that for sure. But I like to do that, and then I live close to a train line,
Hmm.
um, the one single one in the valley, and so I ride the train a couple of stops, and then I walk down into the stadium from there. It's really nice. I really enjoy that sort of moment to to get ready for the game in that way. It kind of prepares me emotionally to walk into the stadium.
Yeah, one of the things that I mean, don't get me wrong, I love living here in Cincinnati, but having worked at the University of Utah, having gone to sporting events in Salt Lake, and I even worked up in Ogden for a while, the fact that I could go to any sort of sporting event in Salt Lake and not have to drive my car to it
Mm.
was just a godsend. And I don't know if when you get some time, look up the abandoned Cincinnati subway because there's another podcast called the Postcast. They have this whole thing where they want to restart the subway, and I support them.
Yeah,
But right next to TQL Stadium, underneath the street, is a subway tunnel,
an abandoned
and
subway
an
stop.
abandoned subway tunnel, and it is so infuriating when I'm stuck in traffic, and I'm like, if I could have just in an alternate universe, there's an
Oh yeah.
alternate Jason riding a subway to TQL Stadium.
Look, let's be clear. The light rail in Salt Lake is not like super heavily used. It doesn't run that frequently. It's like once every 15 minutes or whatever.
Yeah,
So by big city standards, like that's not very often. It's faster for me to jump on that from my house, even if I miss it and I have to wait the full 15
yeah,
to do that, walk down to the stadium, get in. Like that is a faster, smoother experience than trying to park and leaving.
yeah,
I'm home and sitting on my couch like before some people are out of the parking lot.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so many parking lots like put you back towards traffic too because of the
Hmm.
way where the stadium sits, and there's medians and stuff like that. So there's all these parking lots that make you go back or past
Yeah.
the stadium and through the crowds. A nightmare. I'm all for the transit. Like, more of it would just it'd be the best. And you get to be with all the other people and the fans, like
Yeah.
the atmosphere.
It's great. Yeah. I mean, like I said, when I lived out there, I rode the train every game that I could.
Mm.
If we had to park, I was always just very angry. Um, and so, yeah, with the new ownership, is there any talk of maybe getting a new stadium? Because I know they're trying to build a baseball stadium.
They do. Oh man, they do want a baseball stadium. They want it downtown ish adjacent.
Yeah, like at the Fair Park area.
Yeah, I saw I saw some rumors swirling about putting the RSL stadium downtown. They highlighted some actually parking lots is what they highlighted. They're like, hey, let's take these. Uh, it's not big enough. Just
Oh.
to be brutally honest, I looked at it and I was like, I know that area. I don't think it's big enough. I know a little bit about stadiums from my time working at the university. I know that they require really big footprints,
Hmm.
and yeah, so I think moving it downtown will be a massive challenge. I don't know that that really benefits the fan base. I think that benefits a small section, a very small and very vocal section
Yeah.
of the fan base. Um, it's not going to make parking any easier. The it's not going to make the light rail transit any better than it already is.
Yeah.
So I they've made so many investments with where it is. It's not like the baseball stadium that they just closed downtown that was old and decrepit.
Yeah.
So I struggle to see it moving in the near future. Not
Yeah.
that it'll never happen, but not soon.
We'll keep an eye on that. All right. So Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time. So for those of us the Eastern time zone, that is 2 hours behind what we are normally behind. It is my favorite time zone because if you're a football fan, that's the best time to watch football. You get it all day and it doesn't ruin your whole day. Um, let's talk about the game on Saturday. Scott, give me your prediction for what's going to happen.
Whew. I don't want to be negative. I don't want to be pessimistic about my team, but I actually do think the based off of Cincinnati's road form, I think this is where RSL's unbeaten streak sadly comes to an end. Um, I would very much like that to not be the case, but I do think that Cincy comes away, and I think it's RSL's offense that's going to be the problem here. Um, I think Cincy wins it something like 2-1.
2-1 win. I'm gonna be so FC Cincinnati is without our top striker Kevin Denke. He picked up a injury against Columbus. He's going to be out. They said maybe a week or two. There's no like definite timeline on that. We are playing with short rest. We're flying all the way out to Salt Lake. We're playing at altitude. Probably not going to be the best air quality that day either. Um, so I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. I think we're going to see Evander continue the goal scoring. And I think if Dado Valenzuela is on the pitch, which he should be, we'll see a goal from him. So I'm going to go 2-2 draw, and the team split the points. And if you can get a point on the road, I'm always happy about that. Scott, thank you so much for your time. Where can FC Cincinnati fans find you?
Oh, you can find me on the Designated Pundits. We are on YouTube and Instagram and all sorts of places like that. So you can watch us there. You can also watch us on Spotify. And then you can find me personally. I'm still on Twitter for the time being at Scott Omer 13. I will probably be making the jump over to Blue Sky very, very soon, or at least, just branching out. But I've been busy and haven't done it. But I will be as close to the same handle there as I can be. So
Awesome. Well, again, Scott, thank you so much for taking some time out of your evening to talk to me about soccer. And
thank
folks,
you.
that brings this episode to a close. Be sure to head over to Cincinnati soccertalk.com for all of our written coverage, access all of our podcasts that we do, Jersey Swap, the regular CST show, which we did not do a Thursday show this week, but we should in the future again. And check out all of our social media profiles at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. And Jeff would be very mad if I didn't close with the line, keep your kit clean. So we will see you next time here on the Jersey Swap. Thanks, everybody.